Hey guys, welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit, Am I the A-hole? This one's from user NewbieThrowXO. Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my older sister for asking my daughter to call her mom? My older sister is childless because she unfortunately is unable to have children. She volunteers to babysit my 3-year-old daughter all the time. Well, I came home last night with my husband. My daughter and sister were watching a movie in the living room and didn't hear us when we came in. We went in the kitchen to put some stuff away and I ended up overhearing my daughter asking my sister for something to drink, saying, "Auntie Kay, can you get me a drink please?" And my sister replies with, "Only if you call me mom." I was really upset. I told my husband to get our daughter ready for bed, and once she left the room, I started telling my sister off for trying to get my daughter to refer to her as mom, and told her she won't be babysitting my daughter anymore. My husband thinks I overreacted and that my pregnancy hormones are getting the best of me. He thinks I should apologize and thinks even if it does mean more than that, it's probably just my sister still grieving over being infertile. Am I the a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Rhodey says, not the a-hole. What the F? She might still be grieving, but she was way out of line. Time and Entropy says, not the a-hole. Someone's emotions don't give license to behave so incredibly inappropriate. This is not your hormones. Her grief is unfortunate, but not an excuse. What she did was incredibly out of line. Excusing it, justifying it, ignoring it could lead to it being worse. If she's struggling that much, she needs help from a therapist. You have nothing to apologize for. Fred Mist says, not the a-hole. Sounds like your sister was playing family with your daughter and your husband where she was the mom. Something seems really off if your husband can't see why it's wrong and defends her. Suspicious Mango 359 says, yeah, I have a feeling she should probably keep a close eye on her husband. And OP responds, do you really think so? I mean, after I asked my sister to leave, she sat in her car in the driveway. When I noticed she was still in the driveway, I made a comment to my husband about it and he said he'll ask her to leave. He ended up staying outside, sitting in the passenger seat of the car for about half an hour. I don't know what they were doing in there, but when he came back in, he just told me she was really upset and he was just comforting her. OP, you are definitely not the a-hole. Your sister did cross a line, and like the great thinker Joey from Friends said, she's so overly past the line that the line is a dot to her. She should be the one apologizing, not you. I understand that not being able to have kids is a huge deal, and it's very sad. But that does not give her license to tell your daughter to call her mom. That is just wrong. Now, your husband blaming your hormones, that's a low move. If anybody should be blaming your hormones for anything at any moment, that should only be you, and that's about it. What do you guys think? Do you think it was okay for the sister to tell her niece to call her mom? Do you think OP was wrong for getting upset? Well, while you think about that, let's move on to the update to see what happened. As a side note, there is no update post. This update comes from curated responses that OP gave later on her post. I spoke to my husband and it didn't go well. When I brought up how I didn't appreciate him undermining my concerns about my sister's actions, he didn't really want to talk about it and kept on telling me he doesn't see a point in continuing just a trivial conversation. And when I asked him why he was in the car for so long with my sister, all he would say was that he was comforting her. When I asked about the details of the conversation, he'd avoid the question telling me that I'm overreacting. I really thought that the best action for me would be talking to my husband, but it made my concerns worse. I texted my sister saying that we need to have a completely honest heart-to-heart conversation. She agreed, and she came to my house the next morning when my husband was at work. My sister apologized to me and admitted that ever since I gotten married and pregnant, she became extremely jealous because she always wanted a family and she felt she'd never get one. She started crying, barely even able to get a sentence out, and told me that she did something terrible and that she doesn't want me to hate her. It took her a while to get it out, but she ended up confessing that she's been having an affair with my husband. She told me that when I go to my in-laws' house to help my father-in-law with my mother-in-law, she has Alzheimer's, that they'd see each other when he came home from work and ended up developing a romantic relationship. That they flirted before, but nothing serious, and that she started imagining herself as my daughter's mom and even started picturing herself as pregnant. Sorry, I'm really tired while writing this and haven't really had a good night rest for a while. Thank you for the advice. Edit to add. I am 7 months pregnant and I do have a younger sister and an older brother who would be willing to help. I am a registered nurse, just currently not working, but could definitely go back to working. I haven't yet confronted my husband, and I don't think my sister told him she confessed. I'm just in shock and confused. I really thought he'd be someone I'd spend the rest of my life with. Now I'm having a hard time even being in the same room as him. I just don't even know what to say to him or how he'd react. I just feel super emotional over this whole situation. My husband knows something is up, and I know I'm gonna talk to him about it soon. I do plan to talk to a lawyer. OP, I'm so sorry you're going through this. This whole mess sucks. Your future ex-husband, hopefully, is a tool. Of course, your sister is not guilt-free. She is completely at fault here, and she should have not done anything with your husband. At the same time, your husband shouldn't have done anything either. It doesn't matter if she was in the wrong headspace and he took advantage of that, or if she was the one that initiated it and he just didn't do anything about it and went on with it. They both wronged you together. The good thing is that you have a support system and a plan to move ahead, and you will talk to a lawyer. So hopefully, apart from the pain, you will be able to move on. Now, for the rest of us, there's still some time, so I'm going to squeeze in another short post. This one's from user Throwaway29105. Am I the a-hole for calling my sister irresponsible and no longer letting her visit over a plant? Me, 26 female, and my husband, 27 male, have a daughter, 6 female, who we have recently been trying to teach more responsibility to. We decided we didn't want to get a pet, even a goldfish, because it was unfair if it died, and after some thinking, we brought up the idea to my daughter of growing her own plant. She was thrilled with the idea, so the next day we took her to get some seeds. She chose sweet pea seeds and took to caring for her plant better than we expected. It grew really quickly and was thriving quite well considering the tools she had, and soon she was showing a strong interest in gardening. We started calling her Sweet Pea, important later, because of her project, and every day she tells us of the news with her plant. Recently, I got news that my grandmother had passed away and we had to fly out to her funeral. My sister, 22 female, never talked to her and didn't want to attend the funeral, so I decided to ask her to look after my daughter's plant while we were out there for the week. She agreed and we brought the plant over. My daughter kissed it goodbye and asked her to please take good care of it. My sister said she would and I thought everything was fine until we got back. When I get the plant, my sister said, "Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that," and laughed. She brought the pot out and the stem was somehow snapped and it was wilted. My daughter ran crying to the car and I yelled at her for forgetting it and being irresponsible. She said I could just buy her another one, but I said that it wasn't the point and left. She hasn't apologized since. I've since been no contact with her and refused to let her visit. She's done other stuff like this in the past because she likes to act as if she's 18, and I've listened to my parents when they told me to let it go. But this time, she really hurt my daughter. My parents are now saying it's just a plant and I'm being ridiculous for holding a grudge. My daughter has been extremely sad since the incident and has lost interest in gardening. Even asked us to stop calling her Sweet Pea, which breaks my heart. So Reddit, I ask you, am I the a-hole? I hate to see my daughter like this, but I'm not sure if I'm overreacting. The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. May's Nutmeg says, as an avid gardener, I think you should still grow plants with your daughter. The reality of gardening is that plants die constantly. It's basically what they do. but they are still a lot of fun. I'll say not the a-hole as a general judgment, but I think you can pull this back to being a more positive experience for your daughter. She will take cues from you on how to handle this emotionally. Right now, you're really upset at your sister, so your daughter is very upset about the plant. Taking this as an opportunity to get some more plants could really turn things around. Say Insanity45 says, not the a-hole. Your poor daughter, she must have been crushed. She clearly loved that plant and trusted your sister to take care of it. It wasn't just a plant to your daughter. She nurtured it and was probably very proud of herself. I'd be angry too if I were you. Shibi1234 says, not the a-hole. But it is obvious that this is about more than a plant. If I were OP, I would give my sister a chance to bring over a new plant and apologize to my daughter. I also wouldn't hold a lifelong grudge over this. Sister doesn't owe OP an apology, she owes OP's daughter an apology. On this one, OP, I agree with you and I agree with most of the commenters. I totally understand why you're angry at your sister. And let me just say, your parents getting involved, they're not helping at all. They should just shut up. But back to the topic. Like the last commenter says, your sister owes your daughter an apology and she should own up to what she did. Maybe that'll teach her a little bit of responsibility. At the same time, I would say that as a way to apologize, your sister should grow a new plant with your daughter. Not just bring a plant, but start from the beginning and take care of it as well. It could be a good bonding experience for the both of them. It could teach your sister a little bit of responsibility, and it will definitely help your daughter get over the first plant. I have to say personally, I think that upset me the most is that your sister was oblivious of the fact that she hurt her niece and actually laughed about the plant dying. But of course, that's just my opinion. So now let's move on with the update to see what OP did. After I had some time to cool off from the events at my sister's and read all the comments, I realized I was overreacting a little bit. I understand now that it was my fault to let my sister handle something that was so important to my daughter, and so after she had a bit of time to grieve her plant, I wasn't going to rush her feelings, we had a conversation of plant life cycles. I talked to her about how plants, even in the most well-cared of circumstances, can pass away. And I told her how proud I was that she took care of her plant as well as she did. After a bit of pep talk, she seemed ready to have a go at it again, and so we took her to the garden shop again, where she picked out her new tools, soil, pots, gloves, and lots of different plant seeds. We also got her some vegetable and fruit seeds, like some of you suggested, so that she could eat what she's grown, which she's really excited for. As for my sister, after a week of posting, I went over to try and explain why the plant meant so much to my daughter and how it couldn't be so easily replaced. I'm sad to say that she once again lectured me on how it was just a plant and that they die all the time. I also got a text from my parents about how they thought I was mature enough to just let go of something so stupid. I realized that they aren't going to change their minds on the subject and that I should just move on. So I've decided to drop the topic with them, but I have decided never to let my sister handle anything of value, especially if it's my daughter's. I have since apologized to my daughter about the sweet pea and we hugged it out. We also took the suggestion to use the old sweet pea as compost for the new one so that the old plant is still with us. Overall, it's a happy ending. My daughter is feeling better than ever, has given names to all her plants. She has 12 now and 2 succulents, takes care of them just as well as the old sweet pea, and has even gone back to requesting we call her sweet pea again, which I almost cried tears of joy when she asked that. Thank you to all the suggestions given and the people who offered to send seeds through for my daughter, as well to the people who helped me realize my mistakes. I'm also glad to say we have found a potential plant sitter in the future. My husband's co-worker is very keen on plants and has a very green thumb, just like my daughter. Also, at this rate, we're considering setting up an indoor sanctuary for the plants when it gets too cold in winter to bring them outside. So glad things turned out in the end. Everyone's happy, the plants have already started sprouting, and life has never been better. OP, I'm so happy your daughter is feeling better and she's happy again and she's motivated with plants, and that you guys get to call her Sweet Pea again. That's actually sweet. As for your sister, I'm sorry she remains being an idiot, and I still don't understand why your parents think that they have a say over what you can or cannot be upset about. But again, the important thing is that your daughter is back to normal and even better, so good for you. This one's from user glumgirl3452. Would I be the a-hole if I secretly move out? I, 20 female, live in an apartment with 2 roommates, 20 female and 24 male, and have done so for the past year. I was friends with one of them beforehand, we'll call her M, and when I got tired of staying at my parents' house, they offered to rent their spare room out to me, and I happily agreed. The other day, I bought myself a crap ton of junk food, a couple of sub sandwiches, some chicken wraps, 3 cans of Pringles, a few sodas and iced teas, some candy, and 2 bags of beef jerky. M put up a big fuzz about it and insisted on me putting it away properly instead of putting the non-perishables in my room. Sure, fine, let's see how long my food lasts. All my food was gone within the next 2 days. Devin ate it all, and I've asked him to not finish my food, that he can have some, but save some for me. When I brought it up to M, she brushed it off, saying if I wanted to eat it, I should have already. They don't buy groceries, so I took it upon myself to get myself some food, and now it's all gone. But okay, all my food is going missing before I can eat it, and they don't buy groceries. That's not too bad though, right? Well, today was the final nail in the coffin. M and Devin were fighting again, and all of a sudden, N comes out to the living room where I am at. She says, "Can we go check the mail and maybe stop at fast food place to apply there? We all have full-time warehouse jobs. I don't need another tiring job on top of that." So I ask her why, and this woman tells me that we are 3 months late on rent. I have been paying my portion of the rent to Devin as we agreed. Meanwhile, they just went clothes shopping last week, and Devin got 3 pairs of expensive Nike shoes that he didn't need, on top of a $500 promise ring he bought M the other day. I'm furious. They're trying to have me get a second job because they didn't think to pay effing rent? I'm done waking up to a grown man stealing my socks and shirts. I'm done buying food and not being able to eat it. I'm done paying rent to effing idiots that are going to get us evicted. So my plan is to pack my crap up and leave. I don't plan on giving them December's rent. I actually hope they get evicted after everything I've been put through. Will I be the a-hole if I do that? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Boink the Clown says, not the a-hole at all. In fact, you probably would be the a-hole if you stay, especially if you pay any more rent or buy any more groceries. Legally, it may be a different story, but get out now. Ill Engineering 2492 says, not the a-hole. You'd better get out in the next 12 hours. I'm surprised you didn't run out after the food incident. OP responds, it's my first time living with roommates, and the food issue has been there since day one. I figured if I wanted food for me, I could eat it in my car or hide it. Enlightened Corgi says, not the a-hole. Get on out of there. In a place like that, when you are being responsible and they aren't, you need to find a place where you'll be secure and safe. Take care of yourself. OP, I agree. They're taking advantage of you. You should get out of there as soon as you can. If your name's not on the lease, then you should have moved out of there 5 minutes ago, if not even sooner. And regarding your roommates, they are adults. If they get evicted for being irresponsible, it's on them and nobody else, especially not you. But of course, that's just my opinion. So now let's move on to the update to see how OP handled this. I did it, guys! Finally moved all my things out of that damn apartment. No more waking up to my food being devoured. No more having my things go missing. I told them flat out that if they were irresponsible enough to fall 3 months behind on rent, that I couldn't keep living here while we wait for an eviction notice. I am back in my old bedroom at my parents'. It kind of sucks having to follow their rules, but ultimately, I think it's worth it. I have the peace of mind now that I'm not going to get evicted because of other people's mistakes. Sorry for the long wait. I didn't want to update until I had real news. Thank you everyone who said such nice things and gave helpful advice. You guys really gave me the confidence I needed to bite the bullet and finally leave. Thank you everyone and Happy New Year! OP, that's great news. And about living with your parents, it could be a good moment to save up as much as you can so then you can get your own place later or get one with a roommate who is responsible. In any case, Happy New Year to you too, OP. All the best. This one's from user No Coming Back Son. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my son for what he did? So, I, 53 male, have 3 adult children, 26 male, 24 male, and 20 female. I'm gonna skip the build-up and say we were a wonderful family unit and I thought my kids were the best siblings ever until 24 male slept with 26 male's wife, and after the divorce they got together and had a kid. 26 male won't even acknowledge that he has a brother and we have all completely cut contact with him. Unfortunately, this means that I can't see my grandkids, but when I last spoke to my son, I told him, "You sold your family for some disloyal vagina. I hope it's worth it." Now, I haven't spoken to him in about 3 years, and we have begun to build my son back up to the man he was before. We were having a small party for his birthday, and somehow someone who didn't know the story asked about his brother, and I said, "I don't know." And they asked what he does, and I said again, "I don't know." And they started getting upset with me, saying that it's sad that a father doesn't know anything about his own son. I told them that he made his decision and I'm not going to discuss this any further. Honestly, I have missed my son, but I can't begin to think of how much it would hurt 26 to have me disregard his feelings for those two. So, am I the a-hole? The judgment is not the a-hole. Now let's take a look at the top comments. Jazz Time 10 says, not the a-hole. There was a story in here a while back where the situation was kinda the opposite of this. The person was in the same situation as your 26 male son, but his family had chosen to reconcile and were forcing him to come to family meals and attempt to be pleasant to his ex and his bro. The parents' attempt at being neutral put him in the most awful situation. I hope someone can find that post for you, cause I think there's some good advice in the comments in that post. Basically, everyone thought his parents were in the wrong. Junkt says, not the a-hole. As someone who made a similar mistake in my late teen years, sister's boyfriend, I fully expected and accepted being completely cut off from the family forever. And I was, for years, and never once complained, because I made my own bed. Luckily, my sister is quite possibly the most amazing human on earth and found it in herself to forgive me, and I've been carefully rebuilding relationships, as I'm not the nasty selfish person I was then. I feel like I would probably stay away regardless if I was, but I really can't say for sure. But yeah, if that was a marriage and kids were involved and so forth, I imagine it would be a different story, and I still wouldn't be involved with my family. And again, still wouldn't complain because I'd done it to myself. Maylena96 says, not the a-hole, but I think that if you're going to cut your son out of your life, it has to be because of your own feelings. You cut him off because you think his actions are unacceptable and unforgivable, not because you're scared of hurting your other son's feelings and you're scared of his reaction. OP's edit. I apologize for my failure to communicate this effectively. But the affair happened for about a year before my son found out and the divorce happened. This happened 3 years ago and they were those ages at the time of the blow up. They are now 29 male, 27 male, and 23 female. Ex-wife or wife is now 28 and was 25 at the time. They had been married for 4 years and my wife and sister loved her. He was my wife's baby and the first one to get married, and she would just adore anyone that made one of her babies happy. When my wife died, she took it as hard as any of us, so I really thought of her as my daughter. 26 was a lot like me. He was brash and hardworking, but kind of unambitious. My wife loved that about him, and they were always closer to each other than they were to me or the other kids. Whereas I liked to hang out with the kids that behaved more like my wife, my headstrong and highly ambitious son and daughter, 24 and 20. They were my favorite children. They were the ones I went to bat for when fun met funds. I know I shouldn't say this, but they all know it, I guess. Maybe that's what made 24 think that he could get away with anything with me. But I spent 26 years doing everything I could think to do to help my kids be good people. I hate that this situation ever happened, but I do not support betrayal. Edit 2. So, I just got a phone call that I didn't expect. My oldest son just told me that he saw this post and wants to talk about what we should do going forward. We're going to talk after church and I'll see what he wants to do. I hope he's not mad at me for airing his business. I'm just so scared, but I think this needs to happen. Thank you all for the comments and awards. I am truly sad and humbled, but I have to say that maybe the reason that other parents don't do what I did is because it is so hard, and I think easy is the normal way that people do things. Well, OP, to cut it short, I don't think you're the a-hole. You're just following your moral compass. You don't support betrayal. One son betrayed the other. That is a horrible thing to do. Also, you confronted your son and he knew what he was doing. It's not like he did it unintentionally or anything like that. After the affair itself, he continued to be with her and he started a family. So yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. Anyways, of course, we've got an update, so let's continue with that to see what happened next. So, as I stated before, my oldest son saw this post. His fiancée showed it to him, and apparently this is the first time that he had thought about his brother in the last couple of years, and hadn't actually thought I had kept my word and not spoken to him. 24. He had known that he was one of my favorites, and expected me to maintain contact in secret, and was amazed and shocked that I hadn't been lying to him all these years. He is a bit upset with himself that he doubted me and was extremely apologetic for driving a wedge between me and his brother, and I had to tell him that he didn't do anything wrong and it was 100% on his brother for how everything went. I told him I loved him and I would always have his back, and that it was the easiest decision that I have ever had to make. Then, him and his fiancée told me something that I really didn't expect to hear. She is pregnant and they're planning on telling the family at Thanksgiving. But let me know early and ask me to keep it a secret till then. So yes, I'm going to be a grandfather. After I left, my son's fiancée called me and again thanked me for sticking up for him in the situation. Apparently, something similar had happened to her, and like a lot of stories below, it went the way of the cheated being the one who was exiled. So, I guess this is really as common as you guys told me. I just never imagined it could be that common. Thanksgiving was where everything went weird for me though. So, we had a plan to have just the 5 of us at my home for Thanksgiving. But when my daughter read the post, that list went down to 4 because she realized why I had been so annoyed with her girlfriend at my son's birthday party. Then, while I was cooking dinner, I get a tap on the shoulder and turn around and it's 24 looking like he expected me to punch him. I almost did. 26 had apparently called him and asked him to come to dinner. I don't know why he thought surprising me like this was a good idea, but I guess he thought I would object, which I may have. 24 apologized to me, but I told him he didn't do anything to me and he doesn't need my forgiveness. I told him he hurt his family, yes, but he hurt his brother first and foremost. 26 said that he had already forgiven him and that it was okay for us to all move on. Now, I have made it a point that my children never saw me cry. Not when my parents died, not when my sister died, not when my wife died. But I couldn't get away this time and I cried. I cried for an hour straight. My sons both hugged me and my daughter came in and hugged us all. Then I heard this little voice say, "Why is Daddy crying?" And I almost had a heart attack. This small curly-haired kid standing next to a person who I swore would never set foot in my house, looking almost identical to my son. I didn't know what to do. I was not prepared for this, and this is not a person I felt deserved to see me like this. But the boy looked scared, and I couldn't be mad at a scared kid, so we stopped hugging and 24 went to the kid and said Daddy's okay, and he wanted him to meet his daddy. He's a polite kid and he's way better behaved than any of my kids were at that age. So yeah, this has been a bad trip, and I guess I have Reddit to thank for putting this year's long foolishness to bed. I just hope 26 is okay with this. I would hate to find out that this is a problem for him and that he is just doing all this for me. I want my children to be happy, and hopefully that is possible for all of us now, but it's only been a week, so I guess time will tell. Thank you, Reddit. Well, OP, hopefully things have been resolved like you say. Hopefully 26 has truly forgiven his brother, and that you all can be together as a family again. That's always the positive outcome. Of course, the betrayal that happened is something I don't agree with, just like you, and it was sucky of 24 to do that to 26. But if 26 is okay with it, then just like you, I would also say it's okay to move forward. So all the best to you guys, and I hope you guys have a happy holiday as a family now. And that's it for this video. If you'd like, here are other videos from my channel that you would enjoy. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.